I think it would be good that to make sure Malakon side understand. Malakon side, can you just recap what Win suggests? Malakwan?
Sorry, I was I was off a little.
Yeah. So Win kind of walk us through the suggested workflow. I just want to make sure you capture that from your side. Is it okay for you to rephrase it?
No, I haven't understood what Wayne said. Because these errors occurs after the end users in the field have submitted the data. So I can only access what they have submitted here.
So please make sure that you understand from Wayne and try to document the solutions.
Okay. So should I contact Win later?
No,
Or?
just do it now. Just do it now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Win.
so I think
Yes. Okay.
there's two approaches that we can do. Like the first one is definitely using the matching approach.
Yes.
And then the second one is we shouldn't allow for now, we shouldn't allow direct registration to get processed by the form processor until someone kind of manually review it. So as the form data gets into the queue, we should stop the processor from processing this new data. And then as the queue grow with registration, someone need to go through and then kind of confirm that, okay, this is not going to be a duplicate. And then the queue will process this registration data. So in a way, we add a toggle to confirm that the registration is not a duplicate. And then once we have the matching approach ready, then we can just use the matching approach. I don't know, what do you think, Judy or Ada?
Yeah, I have the same. I just go manually to MySQL and just correct the error from there.
Yeah.
I mean, the ideal while you would be able to correct it from the error queue when you see like the problem. But yeah, and but I think what you're describing is the only way for me.
Thanks, Judy.
Does it make sense to you, Malakwan, or you need further instructions on this?
Yes, it makes sense. But like for example, today in the morning, oncology team were uploading data, were seeing clients. Then their data manager informed me that that is Griffin. They were not. Their data was not was going to error queue. Then on taking on the MRS server, the form processor module was off. And after Miencha like started the module, then their data, all their data from MeraQ was resolved. So, Win, can you at least expound on that? So, should we? What I'm getting is you say that we shouldn't allow data to be processed by form processor. So we actually need to confirm, like physically, if the registration is a duplicate. Am I correct, Win?
Yes. So when they start the processor, do they move the error to the queue again? I think you can easily move the data from the error to the queue again, and then let the processor try to process it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because so at the moment, the data we have in error queue are from the CDM team, the mobile device, the Huawei Y210. But for oncology who are using tablets, we don't have any data in the error queue. Though their data is, the quantity is less.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Malaquant, just want to, is it okay that for you just to
Yes,
share
Elder?
the workflow and then the actions that you need to do for these error messages?
Yes, yes. I think I've understood.
Yeah, it's okay for you just kind
Should
of
I have
like,
any question? I think I can contact with.
yeah. So is it okay for you just to recap now? Because we just want to make sure that is clear for your side.
Okay. So the approach I should use is the matching approach. We shouldn't allow data to be processed by the phone processor. So I'm required like to confirm the registration is not a duplicate. And maybe after confirming that the registration is not a duplicate, then we can restart the processor and allow the form processor module to to undo uh, to process the errors, the error queue. That is. Eda?
Okay. It would be helpful for you to lay out the plan and reply to that email thread. Is that okay?
I didn't get you the last.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you write up the workflow and plan and then reply to the email thread?
Okay, I'll write.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's see here. Anyone have anything to add before we move to the next topic? Sounds like a no. Okay, we can discuss a few tickets then. Let me just share the screen. So want to go through a few tickets because there seems to be needs some kind of clarifications on them because it's been a while since the last updated information on the ticket, but since Vickers is not on this ticket, maybe let's look at the next one. This one also for Vickers. This is for Vickers. This one for Strika. So since those are tickets more like related to Sahaj group, I prefer to wait for them to be in discussion together so that we can go through them and then just to make sure that they're not waiting for information from us before they proceed, continue. While so that was the original agenda item I have. Not sure since I'm not, the search group is not online and not sure like what if there's any other thing that you guys would like to talk about. Or we can have like a short course today if you guys don't have any other items to talk about. But please take advantage of the rest of the 30 minutes if you have other items to talk about. So Malaquan, except those messages on the error queue, is there any other major challenges in the implementation side?
Okay, in the implementation side, also oncology reported that their form was a registration form. They could not save a form. We tried it on the test server. Registration form, there are other forms were working fine, but the registration form, and then you could enter data until when you want to submit it, the form brings an error message. So they created a ticket for that. And apart from that, I think we are doing fine.
Cool. I think we can have a look at the ticket later.
Not at all.
Ida, if you're trying to talk, I think you're on mute.
Yes, I've been talking. I'm sorry. Yes, I was on mute. I was wondering why there's no response. Yeah. So, Shrita, can you guys use voice or no? Because we would like to talk about some ticket.
Yeah, hi, Ida. Yeah, we can use voice. It's just that it's possible because they're still working on it.
Okay. I think the major blocker that we need to work on is the new ticket mUzima 226, the error message when using the registration form. Malquan, I believe that you work with Griffin on this one, and you mentioned a little bit earlier. Can you walk us through?
Yes. So for the other forms, we use the latest link that you sent us, either developers or so. So the other 5 forms, via form, dysplasia, breast cancer screening, they are all working fine. The only problem was a registration form. We could register like a new client before we save and submit. Save as a draft. We could save as a draft, but we could not save as complete. We also found out, okay, date validation was taking quite some time. I don't know, maybe the internet connection where we were was slow, but it could not pick, the date picker was picking like the date until a few years back, and then after some time, so it was like slow picking the date. But the major challenge was saving the form. We could not save the form as complete registration form.
So I just want to separate, as if like what you summarize have several issues. One is low internet connections. One is what?
The major, like the main point here is we could not save a new client after filling a registration form. We get an error message.
So you cannot save the registration form as complete data on the device.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to load this form in the test server, and we need to test it out to confirm this issue.
Can you do that for us, Malakwan? Malakwan, can you load this registration form to the mUzima test server?
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah, and then try to test if you run into the same issues.
Okay.
Yeah, move the ticket to the need more information or something. Pending Malakwan loading it to the. Ada, you're still on mute.
Oh yeah, sorry. Hey, sweetheart, are you on? Is speakers with you or you by yourself?
Vikas is here with me, Ada, but I think Kubaran already informed you that he's leaving early today because he's traveling. So
Okay, yeah.
Vikas and
We just
I are.
Yeah, we just want to discuss a few issues that you and Vickers have been working on, but then probably lack of responses from our side. So just want to go through a few tickets that to see what additional information you guys need from us for those 4 tickets.
Okay.
So the first one is mUzima 163, research on adding new version of form templates to server. I think Vic has posted some responses for us. I just want us to walk through and to say that hey, whether we should what next step we need to take. So in case of uploading new version to the form, is the old version templates got replaced? If the user try to upload the same form with the same name, Module will give a message of the form already exists. Please use some other name. If the user to upload the modified form to the module, he needs to give a different name. The upload of the modified form with different names will not impact of the existing form in the module. Or a new form is accessible in mobile app. So that means when a new version of the same form uploaded, it cannot be saved of the same name. It needs to have a different name. Just want to make sure this is the correct behavior. And then after the new version of the same form with a different name got created on the server side, both the old version and the new version would appear on the all form templates list on the device side when they do a synchronization.
Ada, can I just like just say one thing here?
Yeah.
Is that I think Vikas was working. Vikas and I were working on the new UI. I'm not sure if you remember the ticket where we changed the whole UI for the forms
Yes.
module.
Yes.
So given that we made those changes, I don't think many of the questions here, the questions make sense, but the answers, I don't think this is the current behavior of it. Given that we changed the UI and the workflow and things like that, I don't think this is, these answers make sense anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have to redo the whole, take all the questions and test out how the form is behaving with the questions that you asked and update the ticket with that, because this is with the old version of the forms module and it doesn't make sense anymore.
So how about I just close this ticket and then test on the new managed form, mUzima form module, and then come up with a new set of questions.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Hey, Win, there's one thing on the resolutions. I need like a won't fix or something like that.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And then the next one is mUzima 114. Unable to process queue data due to no preferred identifier. I think Win say that there's an error message just like this. There's no preferred identifier, and then
Can I comment on this?
Huh? Oh, yes. Okay. Cool. So I just want to make sure that it makes sense to Vickers.
Yeah. So the idea is, I think for OpenMRS 197, if you just give a list of identifier for the patient, it will not assign a preferred one when it is required to have a preferred identifier. In the previous OpenMRS, if you just give a list of identifiers without the preferred to one of the identifier, it will still allow you to register that patient. So for this one, I think you can have a look at, try to register a patient without preferred identifier and then see if it gets registered or not. And then have a look at the database to see whether there is a preferred identifier selected or not. If it is selected, then the processor could be assigning a default identifier.
When actually I tried to replicate this issue with the new registration form which is there in GitHub. So when I debug the code, it looks like it's not sending all the identifier which is selected in registration form. Suppose it has the Kenya national ID number I have selected, and I have selected something one more identifier. So if you see the actual the XML file which is having the multiple identifier defined there, like with Ada, can you scroll up a little bit?
Ada, can you scroll a little bit?
Yeah, there is a one link which will open that particular error message at the main zero. Yeah, that link, first link, Ada. So here, as you can see, we have something like this. It's a Kenya identifier underscore value and the Kenya identifier type. So actually, when I uploaded the registration form, which is there in a GitHub, I am not able to find this tag name. So it looks like either the registration form is not correct, or actually what happening is, even though if I've selected the 3 identifiers, it's only sending the first one. It's not that form data doesn't have a tag something like Kenya identifier type or OpenMRS, AMS underscore type.
I think it should have it over there. Because this one is the extra identifier.
Yes. Because in registration form, we have the separate section with the plus and minus symbol. When you click on a plus, it will keep adding the identifiers, and we can select the multiple identifiers. So the XML which I have put it on the Jira ticket, that doesn't have this identifier tag.
It could be your. So I think this one is the. Can you try opening that link, Ada?
Which link?
The one I pasted in the chat.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, you probably need to log in. Hold on. Go to the form list in the OpenMRS test server.
1 second.
I can paste you the link.
Do the same. Go to the form list.
Yeah, go to the form list. Yeah, scroll all the way down. Open that basic registration form.
You mean like filling out or?
No, just view. Yeah, so the identifier for that Kenya and other type is in that identifier box. So it should allow you to select and then fill other type of identifier.
Yes, then what I have done is I have downloaded the registration from GitHub, and it do have this identifier section with the multiple options like AMRS medical record and Kenya number.
Mm-hmm.
I have selected multiple times. This
Mm-hmm.
identifier I have section thrice with the different identifier type. But when I'm sending it to, when I'm actually uploading to the server,
Uh-huh.
data doesn't have all the identifier. It has only the one identifier, which is AMRS Universal ID.
So the identifier coming from this box is not actually included in the payload?
Yes, yeah.
Hmm.
You know, from looking at this registration form, the MRS Universal ID is required, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
So if that's the case, why that message doesn't even have the Universal ID?
The one in the error?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, you know, like from looking at the registration form like this, if MRS Universal ID is required, so why not we just make it a default preferred?
Default preferred identifier?
Yeah. Since the forms they already marked as
Yeah, we
required.
definitely can do that. It's easy enough.
Unless you're saying that either the universal ID or at least one type of identifier is filled as a require, then the assumption will be different. Because I'm not really sure with I cannot tell much from the UI saying that, hey, is it that universal ID is required despite of where there's a other identifier to collect or not, or either the at least like one of the universal ID or any of the identifier type is field, and then it's a required field.
Yeah, I think making the universal ID as the preferred one probably the better.
That's the default, right?
Yeah. But the more worrying is why the extra identifier is not
Doing the payload.
getting into the payload.
Yeah, this is alarming.
Yeah.
I kept that XML file which I tried to upload in the bin. You can see it has only the other identifier tag, but it doesn't have the Kenya identifier type uh, tags on that. But actually, I have selected the Kenya identifier tag in this section.
So Ida, actually, Vikas has actually put up the XML file that he used to test with. and he's attached it to the Jira. So maybe you could, can we, would it be possible to open that?
Which one?
It's on the Jira.
Mm-hmm.
I posted as a comment.
So I think it's the very
Just this one.
this is the one.
Mm-hmm.
So
Here we have only the other identifier type group, and it is having the Kenya national ID as a data, not as a tag actually. But the XML which is showing the exception which is attached in this mUzima, that having the Kenya national ID number as a tag, not as a data.
Hmm.
No, but for this one, we have this MRS
Yeah.
So by default, that universal ID is getting selected as default identifier.
So I'm just a little confused. So what is the behavior supposed to be like? Does everyone have an AMRS ID and then they have secondary identifiers like the Kenya identifier number? Is it just an optional field, or how is it supposed to work?
Hello. What we normally do is when we train like the clinical health workers, we normally use AMRS universal identifier, AMRS universal ID as the identifier. That is what we recommend them to use, because we already have the AMRS universal ID on the upper section, so it would be easy to select the AMRS ID as your identifier, then enter the number. That is what we normally recommend them to do.
So is this the other identifiers like the Kenya identifier type, identifier number will be for patients who do not possess an AMRS ID?
At least I'm trying to comprehend what this identifier means, because normally every client we see, we have a AMRS universal ID. We assign them one universal ID. So each client has a universal ID, and if we use this AMRS universal ID, then we can use it as identifier down there. But for the like Kenya national ID, and each citizen has a national ID, we may have like these other cards can also work. So I don't know from there how we can.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Because we're also thinking of the use case of how this is going to be used, because I think the way Vikas has been testing it is that he's been trying to add additional IDs and adding them, and sometimes he's also tried setting Kenyan. For example, he's added the Kenyan national ID number,
Yes.
and he's given a proper number, and he set it as use this as the default identifier. And forget about being. I mean, it's not even sending the if there are, let's say, 5 identifiers in the form, only the first one is being sent in the payload.
Yes.
The other 4 are lost.
I think when it looks like it's not at all sending the other identifier. Suppose I have 5, it's not sending 5 out of 10. It's only sending the first which is selected. So maybe because of that, I'm not able to replicate this issue. Since it is sending only one identifier, it's making it as a default one. So if somehow if we are able to I figure out why it is not sending, maybe I'll able to replicate this.
Yeah, I think that one is going to be a separate ticket that we need to create to keep track, because for this one, I think the resolution that I think we should agree on is to just pick the MRS ID as the preferred identifier in the processor,
Yes.
and make sure it behave that way. And then for the next one, I think we need to create a ticket about some identifier get dropped from the registration form when you submit to the server. I think that's going to be a more challenging
So
ticket.
are we saying that only one? So let me just summarize if I understand correctly. If we add multiple other identifiers, only the first one got picked. Is it correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So the repeating element is not working as expected.
And also now with the change of AMRS, universal ID should be the preferred ID. Is there like a checkbox which says that, or is it just a presumed thing, like we always default to that? Can anyone else, I mean, can any other identifier ever be made the preferred ID?
I will defer that one to Ada. Probably she understands. There's a big talk going on about preferred identifier and universal ID.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we probably need to have a discussion on this one so that we are not so that it will fit most of the scenario. So let's ask back for the implementation team. When you register new clients on the field, and how do you assign AMR's universal ID to them?
So, Eda, from this side, for the CDM clinic, there is one person who normally generates all the AMRS universal ID, IDs, and then they distribute the cards to various people. So each data assistant has a few cards, and then when they get finished, he or she goes for other cards.
Is
So
it the
there are
same?
no.
Is it the same for the CHW and the CHV as the provider?
Yes, because we are dealing with production. It is the same. We give them the same nini from the same source. Yes.
So is it correct that in the central it generates a bunch of empath ID card with the AMS universal ID, and then those will be distributed to the CHV and CHW, so that when they register a new client, they will fill one out and collect the universal AMS universal ID during the registration process. Is it correct?
Yes, they are normally given. We generate there is somebody at AMPAT who normally generates the cards containing MRS IDs.
I want to make
Yes.
sure that the CHV and CSW are actually receiving those universal ID and to assign them to the clients when they meet new clients on the field. Is it correct?
Yes, it is correct.
Okay. So if that's the case, I think we should have the AMRS universal ID as the defaulted preferred ID.
Yes, that is what we normally do. I don't know who came up with the suggestion of adding these other identifiers. Maybe there is some reason behind that, but we normally recommend AMRS ID as the universal ID.
Yeah, I think the reason they want to capture other universal, other type of identifiers in case some of the clients they might they receive certain identifiers, but they don't have AMRS universal ID for whatever reason.
Okay.
So that we can use other identifier to do the linkage through the patient matching algorithm, so that we can find hey, actually these two records belong to the same client.
Okay.
So Shrita, does it answer your question?
Yeah, Ada. Actually, I also was kind of looking up on the internet. Just found this. I'm not sure if it's probably something you already know, but I just thought to just post it there on the right side.
Yes.
So my only, I mean, I may not be right by saying this, but I'm just concerned that if a person has multiple, an identifier is supposed to actually uniquely identify a person. So how can you like? Are you saying that you're like having multiple points of identifying a particular person?
So what it means is that they have different identifier type. Let's say that one type is AMS universal ID, one type is CCC number, one type is let's say PHCT ID, something like that. So within each type identified type, it should not have duplicates. But then it's possible sometimes across different different identified type, it could have like duplicates. However, within the same type, it should not.
Okay. So I mean, I would. Okay. I would typically identify. So I would typically perhaps I'm assuming that we use identifiers to look up a person, right? Like someone comes to you and say, hey, my AMRS ID is this. So you key that in and then you bring up the patient record. So right now with so many identifiers, which one is the one that the person should use, right?
For searching, you mean?
Yes.
So we you can set up your searching on your system to say that which one you want to prefer for the identified searching. So it is something that implementation can customize for that. So for our case, we use AMRS universal ID and the O identifier.
Okay. Because I saw that on the create patient page on OpenMRS, that when I'm adding all the details for a new patient, I can choose the kind of identifier I'm going to use for this patient, and then there's a checkbox on the right side which says, make this the default, make this the preferred identifier, right? So with this change that we're talking about, make the AMRS ID the default, this will only apply in cases where the patient always has an AMRS ID plus other IDs. So I mean, I don't,
So for our implementation in AMPATH, what Malakwan was saying is that when they register new clients on the field, all the new clients will be assigned a AMRS universal ID. Since that is the main ID in AMPATH medical record system, we prefer that is to be the defaulted preferred identifier type.
Okay. Oh, so you're saying within AMPATH, we will always use AMRS ID as a universal identifier, but other implementations of OpenMRS can use whatever they prefer.
Yes, that's right.
Got it.
Yeah, because it's really implementation preference. Like maybe some, on theirs is different because when we create AMRS universal ID, this is only applied to AMPATH implementations. So for other implementation side, they would need to do something different.
Got it.
Yeah. Sounds good. So any more comments on 114?
No.
Okay. Since we run out of time, I think it's good for us to stop here. We will reschedule the showcase next Tuesday, the same time, 7 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. East African time. I will send out a Google Hangout link. Next Monday is U.S. holiday. Wayne will not be available, and I will be traveling as well. So there's no Scrum on Monday. If you guys need anything, please send through the listserv, the mailing list, and then we can work from that.
Sure. And Ida, I just had a quick question about the linkage and the retention form. I'm not sure if it's the right place to discuss it.
No, it's good. It's fine. Yeah.
So the linkage and the retention form, I know that Manu had worked on this before. So just kind of like, um, I saw your emails to, I think, Rajesh
Uh-huh.
about what is the logic flow or how the messages should be displayed to the user. So I don't think anybody has like said that this is how it should work or like there's no prototype out there with the UI. So should I just make assumptions and start coding that way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what happened is that I think Raj wants that so after the provider fill out the form data, and then based on the information it enter, and then we follow the logic flow that which message should got displayed at the end of the playlist. And it's more like kind of like hyperlink. Let's say that after filling out the form data, this client is eligible for five messages, and then have 5 links at the end of the playlist. And the provider can click on any of those 5 link can more than one time if the provider chose to. Let's say that, if the client just click a play, and then it would just do like message 1, message 2, message 3, message 4, message 5. After it's done, and then the provider can also replay any of those messages again. I think that's the expectation Raj is asking.
Okay. So is the priority still on LARP, right? So I continue to work on
Yes.
LARP on Monday.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, please. Yes.
To the customers.
Sounds good. So anyone else have anything to add before we wrap up the call?
And I was also a little confused about I think you sent me a message saying he set up Actra for fingerprinting.
Yes.
So,
yeah. So Judy is asking if Vickers can help to set up the fingerprint on the server side, on the Linux, on the test server, or the mUzima test server, so that she can test on it.
the server side, are you saying for the fingerprint module?
Yes, exactly. The fingerprint module, and yes.
But Actra is actually just only for Android applications, so I'm not sure how it will work with the module on the server side.
Say that one more time.
Actra is only it's only meant to log errors that happen on Android devices. I don't know how it would work on the server side modules.
Yeah, I think we don't need to worry about the server side module yet, because I think if an error happened on the server side, and then we can just get the stats trace on the web. So I'm not going to worry about it right now. So what Judy wants is to have the fingerprint module loaded to the mUzima test server.
Okay.
And so that we can use the fingerprint APK that Kumara shared with us, and then we can do some testing from our side.
Yeah, actually, the fingerprint thing is kind of it's integrated with the mUzima application. So if it crashes, then since we've already configured the mUzima application to send error reports, you should be able to see any errors that you see, even with regard to fingerprinting. That is how I assume it will work. I don't think we need to do anything special because we've integrated the fingerprinting into mUzima.
Yeah. So we right now, so on this, because I know that they're working on the fingerprint module on the server side, so we need that module to be on the test server.
Sure. I'll ask Vikas to set up the module on the test server, and you'll already have the APK. So I think if you'll put the APK on the device to start testing, if you'll have any error crashes, it should show up on Actra.
Yeah, because we have we just received the fingerprints readers outside, so that we want just to test on it, and so just provide more feedback to you guys, you know, in a timely manner. That's why we want it to be set up so that we can test on it.
Sure, we'll do that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Malakwan, you post a comment saying that registration form is picking super.
Yes, for
Go ahead.
yes, it was picking the super user as a provider ID instead of the actual names. So I don't know if the programmers incorporated the names of the oncology nurses and yeah.
So are you saying that it's picking up the name of the provider instead of the provider ID for the provider?
No, for the section of the provider ID, it is picking super user instead of the actual name of the provider.
So it doesn't matter they register as a login as a non-super user? Because right now, if you log in as an admin test,
Yes.
you are super user.
Okay. Oh, that is for the test server, but for production, it is supposed to give like the name of that provider.
Can you file a ticket for that?
Okay, I will do that.
Yes, yes, please. And then some example and screenshot would be
Okay.
helpful.
Yes.
Anyone else before we wrap this up? We are 15 minutes running over the time. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think it's mostly because of us and the internet problem, but it's something we couldn't really fix.
No, actually, it was a very good use of time because we end up spending time to talk about the implementation issues. So it's good.
Lovely.
Yeah. So I guess we'll catch up next Tuesday then.
Sure.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.